The loss may have been disappointing for Louisville, but for Louisville to return like this, they had to beat a giant like Kentucky. Let's see the news. It was one of those nights where college basketball shows why it's so unpredictable and exciting. Kentucky fell to rival Louisville 96-88 in an electric atmosphere. And although the loss hurt in Lexington, there's much more to be said than just a score. To understand the moment, you need to look beyond the surface. This Mark Pope Kentucky team isn't a shaken team, but a giant that's just waking up. Louisville had its merits. Mikel Brown Jr., a 19-year-old talent, led the victory with 29 points and 5 assists, and his post-game speech, "Louisville is back 100%, was as provocative as it was symbolic. It was undoubtedly the Cardinals' night. But every big win for a rival also ignites something in Kentucky, something that Pope and his players know how to channel better than anyone, a sense of urgency and wounded pride. From day one, Mark Pope has been a coach who speaks of rebuilding with conviction. He took the helm with the weight of tradition on his shoulders and the mission of returning the Wildcats' DNA as a national powerhouse. The loss in Louisville doesn't erase the work that has been done. On the contrary, it reinforces what Pope so often repeats in his press conferences. Every game is an opportunity to grow. And if there's one thing Kentucky has always known how to do, it's grow in moments when the world doubts. What we saw against Louisville was a duel of intensity, but also a learning experience for a group still in formation. Kentucky showed glimpses of what it can be. Quick transitions, good off-ball movement, and a rotation that is beginning to take shape. Defensive consistency was lacking, yes, and that cost him dearly against an inspired Brown Jr., but it is precisely this type of adversity that separates a talented team from a mature one. There is one detail that cannot go unnoticed. The competitive spirit remained intact. Even in the final minutes, with the rival fans in ecstasy, Kentucky fought, pressured, and forced errors. The score did not fully reflect the story of the game. And if there is something Mark Pope values, it is resilience. He has been shaping a group that is not shaken by occasional stumbles, but feeds off them to correct its course. The upcoming schedule is challenging, but it is also the perfect chance for Kentucky to rise again with strength. Pope knows the Lexington environment well and knows that the demands are high. He also knows that great programs are not measured only by immediate victories, but by how they respond to defeats. And Kentucky's response tends to come on the court, with adjustments, energy, and the confidence of those who have enough talent to compete for titles. Louisville left the court celebrating its comeback, as Brown Jr. put it. Kentucky, on the other hand, left reflecting, and that's often dangerous for opponents. Because when Kentucky reflects, it reacts. And when it reacts, it usually reminds everyone why it's one of the giants of college basketball. Mark Pope in his calm and analytical tone. Stokes almost in Kentucky? Let's take a closer look. The saga of Tyron Stokes, one of the brightest jewels of college basketball yet to debut, takes on increasingly fascinating contours as Kentucky basketball positions itself as one of the protagonists in the race for his signature. Standing at 2.01 meters tall and weighing an impressive 104 kilograms well distributed in an athletic and versatile body, Stokes is seen as a potential phenomenon, not only for his physical ability, but for the tactical intelligence he demonstrates on the court. His choice between Kentucky, Kansas, and Oregon could be a game changer for any of these programs, especially for the Wildcats, who already have an enviable history of shaping exceptional players. Stokes has everything to be a revolutionary addition to the roster led by Coach Mark Pope, whose strategic vision and ability to manage individual talents within a solid collective have been widely recognized. The possibility of Stokes joining Kentucky mid-year, even without playing the current season, brings an intriguing dimension to the team's future. This would allow him to integrate into the group early, absorbing the Wildcats' winning culture, while developing his game under the watchful eyes of Pope and his coaching staff. More than that, it would be a clear statement of intent regarding the mutual commitment between player and program. Stokes would arrive not just to compete, but to leave a legacy. Stokes' attributes are impossible to ignore. His imposing physique allows him to dominate both on the perimeter and in the paint, creating difficulties for less versatile defenders. He combines strength and agility in rare doses for someone his age, capable of facing taller and stronger wings or even centers in inside duels, while maintaining the mobility needed to keep up with faster opponents in defensive transitions. Furthermore, his offensive ability is multifaceted. Stokes demonstrates accuracy in mid-range shooting, court vision to create opportunities for teammates, and a predatory instinct to capitalize on opponent mistakes. It's no exaggeration to say he's a modern prototype of a forward, the kind of player who can change game dynamics with his constant presence on both sides of court. But perhaps Stokes' most promising aspect is his competitive mentality. Despite limited media exposure and low-key recruitment, he carries an aura of quiet confidence, a trait that tends to flourish even more in demanding environments like Kentucky basketball. Under the tutelage of Mark Pope, known for extracting maximum potential from his athletes, Stokes could quickly evolve from a promising prodigy into an established star. The coach has already made it clear that the core of the current locker room is robust enough to absorb new talent without compromising team chemistry, something crucial to ensuring that a young player like Stokes doesn't feel overwhelmed when joining a high-level program. If Stokes does choose to enroll at Kentucky in the spring, it would open doors to a gradual adaptation process, away from the intense gaze of official games. He would have time to familiarize himself with the tactical systems implemented by Pope, as well as build genuine relationships with his future teammates. This period would also allow Stokes to fine-tune small details in his game, refining his technique, and physically preparing for the brutal demands of the NCAA. When he finally debuted in the 2026-27 season, he would likely be ready to make an immediate impact, whether as a starter or a key player coming off the bench. For Kentucky, when the clock showed 12 minutes and 24 seconds into the second half, the atmosphere surrounding Kentucky felt as heavy as lead. Louisville led by an impressive 20 points, a difference that threatened to turn the rivalry into a humiliating game for the Wildcats. However, basketball is a sport of nuances, capable of abrupt changes and unexpected surprises. And that's exactly what Cam Williams provided when he came off the bench. Just over 8 minutes later, that seemingly insurmountable lead had been reduced to just 4 points, with Williams acting as the engine of the comeback. The story of his unconventional entrance deserved highlighting. He didn't play a single minute in the first half. He was reserved, probably relegated to the role of spectator, while his teammates desperately tried to find solutions to contain Louisville's momentum. But when Mark Pope finally decided to call him in, something changed. It wasn't just a player entering the court. It was a breath of energy, mobility, and physical stature that immediately impacted the game. With a long-range three-pointer right after securing a second offensive chance, Williams began paving the way for the comeback. With each touch of the ball, he seemed to remind the crowd that basketball often belongs to the unexpected. It wasn't just his offensive skills that caught the eye. His powerful dunk after an offensive rebound brought a spark of vitality to the team, further reducing the score difference. Rebounds, blocks, and defensive movement, it all came together, showing a level of maturity and commitment that few would expect from someone who had been questioned for disappointing numbers in previous games. In the first 2 games of the regular season, Williams went virtually unnoticed on offense, missing all 5 three-point attempts and scoring a meager 2 points. His impact on the boards and defense remained solid, but his confidence in his shot seemed to erode with each miss. However, against Louisville, Williams found a moment of redemption. It wasn't perfect. After all, Kentucky ended up losing 96-88, but his contribution was undeniable. In his brief 12 minutes on the court, he finished with 5 points, 4 rebounds, 1 offensive and 1 block, comfortably leading the team in points differential plus 11. More than the numbers, it was his ability to alter the flow of the game that will leave its mark. When Coach Mark Pope praised his wingspan and mobility, he was echoing something everyone saw. Williams could be a key piece in fitting together Kentucky's puzzle throughout the season. The decision to keep him on the bench for much of the game will certainly be debated among experts and fans. Some will argue that his early entry could have changed the outcome of the game even more profoundly. However, the greatest credit may go to the player himself, who managed to overcome any frustration or lack of rhythm and seize his opportunity masterfully. This attitude directly reflects the team culture promoted by Mark Pope, who has worked tirelessly to shape a resilient and adaptable group in the face of adversity. Cam Williams' future within the team now sparks curiosity. Will this performance against Louisville be the catalyst for him to find consistency? The coach seems willing to explore different ways to utilize him, especially considering that the expanded roster offers several tactical possibilities. For a team seeking to balance youth and experience, Williams' versatility can be a valuable asset. And although the defeat was painful, there are clear signs of growth, both individually and collectively. In a sport where constant pressure shapes champions, moments like this can define trajectories. Cam Williams not only showed that he is ready to face challenges, but also gave Kentucky fans a reason